Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Roundup here on BloodbowlLive. Here to go through all of the action from the last week in the A&DBBL Season 9. We've got 7 playoff games to bring you as playoffs have well and truly begun. And Scott and Tom are here to join me and go through all of these games. Before we do, I will give Scott a quick moment to mention any mugs that he may want to mention.
That was an easy setup, Mr. Coe. That could lead me down a very dark path, one which many lawyers would be earning a lot of money from, I have no doubt. Just a reminder, chat, to all our other listeners, wherever you may be, we are doing said A&DBBL mugs this year. They are an exclusive, so hopefully you will think as a FOMO you need one of these in your life. I can confirm there is tea in this, so you can see them live in action. They do hold liquid. Just put that down just in case. So you know the drill by now. £15, of which £6 will go to charity, go straight to the St. Elizabeth's Hospice. Anything we can do to support that great charity is, again, another sign of our fabulous community. So if you want one, DM me, let me know. There are some beautiful people in our community. The latest one is obviously the Prince of Ipswich himself, Mr. Dave Rue, who has paid for his mug, even though it hasn't been delivered yet. If you want to give me a shout, let me know. If Lord Pat Van der East is listening from Canada or anybody else is, drop us a note, drop it at the New Dice Please email, newdiceplease@gmail.com, and we'll look at international postage. We'll look at whether it's by plane, train, automobile, pigeon, whether we get one of Tom's staff to carry it on their back. However, we will look to get this mug to you to raise that money for charity. I'll stop there now, Christopher, because I hadn't prepared anything.
If my staff are carrying them on their backs?
Well, I'm not worried about the mug because it's the amount of packaging and the amount of security we put around the mug to make sure it arrives in one piece. And again, you can just hire another member of your staff from your underground salt mine empire that you're running.
Well, there's lots to unpack there. Maybe we'll just get into some Blood Bowl games. The only thing I will say before I get into them is I just want to say another shout out and a thank you on the record to Hopsters. Their opening hours have now changed because they get into the winter months and they don't open quite so much as they do over the summer. But it has been an enormous help for them to be a available venue, repping one of their lovely hats right now. So I'm sure we would all agree a huge thank you to them for all of their support for us this season. But why don't we dive straight in then? Let's go into our first knockout game, which was Necromantic Horror versus the Dark Elves. And it was a 2-0 victory for Tom Huns and the 5 Rules of Dodge here. 2-0 victory, 2-0 on the cash as well. The Dark Elves very much having the better of the Necromantic Horror side on this day. Scott, I'll come to you first as a fellow Dark Elf coach this season. I think it's fair to say that Tom has, we know Tom's an incredible coach. He's done very, very well with the squad that he has had because he's spent a large majority of the season with a squad of 7 players or less. So to get this far and then to have a good convincing win here is a very good push.
It's a very, very good push from Tom. We talked about this last week and the week before in Roundup. Tom has focused all of his development around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, core players as well. He's got his 4 blitzers now with dodge and block. He's got them now, 1 with tackle, 1 with jump up, 1 with diving catch. So not too bad for a random skill. A witch elf there with block, sidestep, tackle. Dump off, a runner with not just dump off, but leader now for the extra reroll to give him that 3rd reroll. And a lineman with dirty player and jump up as a utilitarian piece. He's been playing it very, very well. He knows it. He seems to be enjoying this dodge and very edge team exactly as he played when he did the Amazons as well. He's making the most out of the pieces you've got. He's maximizing the return on investment if you look at what he's putting on them in terms of additional skills. So, yeah, I think he brought this to the fore against Dave as well. If you look at it, very, very close in terms of the activities. There were 14-star to 4 SP, 3 main injuries, 4 in favor of the Necros and for the Foxhole Road Scavengers, including 1 death as well. But again, that doesn't stop the elves when they can be on fire, whether it's Dark Elves, Woodies, Pro. They don't need many players to score that touchdown. And Tom did, as Tom plays it very well. Got the turn 8, looked to force the touchdown, gets the turnover at the start of the, middle of the second half. And then all of a sudden it's turn 13 and trying with Necro to score, 3 touchdowns to get the win in the last 3 turns is, even beyond, some of the best coaches out there ever if the dice aren't going their way. So I think it was very, very controlled, and it'd be interesting to know, was there any issues in terms of the dice? How were the dice performing? What were the impacts? Very sunny. Yeah, I don't think that's a particular one impacting either these particular teams in terms of the weather.
Tom, Mr. Hunt is in the chat and kindly reminding us that I don't think we necessarily predicted him to do overly well this season. And he's through to the quarterfinals yet again. I mean, why would we doubt the boy? We should not doubt him in the future. Well, what do we say to Dave sort of after this game then? Because Dave sort of does get quite unlucky sometimes in the playoffs. He always comes up against some good coaches. I think this is arguably one of the kind of more this is 2 headline coaches here, coming in. Tom has managed to knock out both Ghouls and a block werewolf in the first half. So, Tom's gone in fighting here. Unfortunate for Dave not to progress any further this season.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously knocking out the Ghouls and a block werewolf in the first half kind of really puts the Necromantic Horror on the back foot, something that clearly they couldn't recover from. And also follow that up with a injured zombie, and just to put the icing on the cake in the last turn, killing one of the Ghoul runners when it came back in the second half. So it was very much kind of business as usual for the Dark Elf team. So they are looking incredibly dangerous coming into their next match.
Yeah, I guess the only positive, I guess, is that at the moment with 3rd edition on the horizon, the assumption is that redrafts are unlikely to be a thing because of that. So a player dying in what is your last game of the season may be less of a concern. But well done to both coaches. Well done to Dave for what has been a really incredible season, some really good results and a really strong team that he's built here. Unfortunate to come up against Tom, with a very good run of form, who's also had a very good season. So well done to you both, and good luck to Tom in the next round. Let's go to the next game, which is another game of 2 absolute big hitters here. John Reader versus Coach Acredes, which is Scott, and a 1-0 victory for the Chaos Dwarf team in a result that I think probably was a surprise to most people. Not to put Scott down in any way, but his group stage, he struggled. It wasn't as strong a group stage for him. He just about got through on tiebreakers. Is how he got through to the playoffs. And he's come up against what was an unbeaten John Reader and got the 1-0 victory here and 3-1 on the cash. Tom, this is a great result for Scott. We know how consistent he can be. We know how well he can play. It was a surprise to everyone how this Chaos Dwarf team were performing for him this season, but he seems to have hit form when it counts.
Absolutely. I think they should rename them to the Goonies, so never say die. It really is one of those things where I know Scott really wasn't enjoying it. I think he had a lot of positive expectations with these Chaos Dwarfs. It was in previous incarnations, the Chaos Dwarfs have always been a bit of a favourite for him by the sounds of things, just the sculpts and everything like that. So he was really looking forward to showing what they can do. And I think he had a little bit of a struggle to start off with, really wasn't enjoying their style of play, but clearly he's now skilled them up to a very good level that he's now comfortable playing it. Although, it seems to be a bit of a backwards and forwards with a lot of things. Straight off the block, an injury on the first half, and then followed by, tit for tat kind of thing, an injury going the other way in turn 2, casualties going backwards and forwards throughout the entire match. So it does seem like a bit of a bloody and bruised game, but onwards and upwards for the Chaos Dwarfs.
Scott, it's I'm reliably informed that John made it further than one square over the halfway line,
Yeah.
maybe once or twice in the whole game.
Yeah.
And we know that Orcs are not a kind of sprinting away with it team. They do have some kind of average speed players, and their agility isn't bad. Why is it that the Chaos Dwarves have caused him so much issue?
I think first thing I just want to shout out there, Chris, for all of our younger listeners, The Goonies, as a reference, is a 1980s film featuring Thanos. Don't worry, ask your parents, they'll know all about it. Secondly, as well, we did call this out last week, myself and I believe Mr. Baggett, that we saw this as a potential upset. We thought that there might be the edge for the Chorf as well. I think, as you said, John didn't get out of his half, and we know that Mr. Phipps, coach of Creades, his style of playing, and we've talked about it with him on on the New Dice Please podcast. He's a defensive coach. He enjoys that defensive mindset as well. So it's really difficult to score against him most days as well. So the fact he can hold John, that very bashiness of the team, he can stand a bit more toe to toe with it with his Chorfs, with the armor 10, iron skin, etc. And I think he took his opportunities, he took them well, and then the dice went his way, of course. And all of a sudden, you're in the quarterfinals. So I think very well done indeed, and commiserations to John Reeder. We know he's a phenomenal coach, but it'll be from the purity of Blood Bowl in our community, Chris. It's going to be nice to see someone else's name, or at least a new champion, as in a new champion's name in this year. It might not be. It might be an existing former champion who wins it, but seeing someone different, spreading the love around. That's what I sort of get to. I'll shut up now and let you move on.
I mean, if you're a betting man, you wouldn't have bet on John for this season because he wins every third season. He won 2, 5, and 8. So season 11 is when I'm going to put some money on John to win the next one. Scott, we've talked about. We've rather insultingly referred to him as the bridesmaid of the league. Always getting pretty close and always doing very well. He's always high up in the rankings, but not quite getting there. If he got there with this Chaos Dwarf season, I think it would be a huge achievement compared to some of the other. He's built some really impressive teams in the past, and he's had really good runs in group stages with teams in the past. If he were to do it with this team that he's struggled with more, I think that's going to be a very impressive turnaround.
Yeah, and just to quickly interject, you have a look at that team now. That is looking vicious. That is a very well skilled up team. There's been a lot of randoms that's clearly have gone in his favour.
Shadowing on a Chaos Dwarf blocker, maybe not entirely what you would have wanted.
But you want the Dauntless. Though.
You got Dwarves coming up.
Dauntless would be good. Multi-block, wrestle as well. Dirty player, strip ball on a hobgoblin. Frenzy and wrestle on a hobgoblin. So it's that situation where those dwarfs themselves, maybe not so much, but those hobgoblins are looking a little bit vicious now, so they can keep other people in check.
What I'd say, my last thing on this, Chris, yes, the narrative of Scott winning the last league in the season 2 format would be worthy of either a Netflix documentary or a Disney type comeback story. Yeah, and it would be beautiful. We'd all cry, and well, some of us may cry anyway. So I think, though, it's going to be a challenge against Mr. Huns. I think Scott has the tools there, because with those centaurs giving him, in effect, movement 9, with the amount of tackle that Tom rightly called out as well. And Tom obviously saw how effective first-hand tackle can be this weekend. I think it's going to be a really, really good match. And in terms of reverse psychology coaching, I think Mr. Phipps will start as firm favourite for his match against Tom. Tom, see what I did there? Not you, Mr. Huns in chat.
So Scott, just let you know, you've gone from the bridesmaid to Cinderella, by the way.
Well, it'll be interesting to see two coaches who have faced each other a lot coming up in that game. But we will move on to the next one. That is 2 coaches from the Ipswich Blood Bowl League, both knocked out. And there was a risk of a third, but James did manage to cling on here to a 3-2 win in extra time. against the Dark Elves, Simon's Dark Elves here. 3-1 on casualties for the Skaven team against the Elves. And a game that absolutely went down to the wire. Went into extra time at 2-2, and James managing to get that touchdown on turn 24 to make sure that the Dark Elves didn't have time to respond. And this game was incredibly tight. I believe there was a moment in this game where Simon could have got the win here, and James managed to snatch it from him. Scott, an incredible result here, a very, very close one. And I think one that shows how well this team suits Simon. I think it's been a really strong season for him, and I think it's unlucky not to progress.
Yes. Simon has really found the groove. He got his bit of his mojo back after last season. After coming off such a great season with his Underworlds. What for me this shows as well is two good coaches, two very interesting edge teams. It shows me as well, when you look at it from a coach's perspective, is when you have these knockout games and you get a chance to score, take it. Worry about your opposition and how many turns they've got left and they could score, what they may or may not do. Worry about that when you've got the touchdown score on the board. I appreciate that in this one, Simon, I think he tried to stall one extra, take a turn, which, given the fact that he had two of his key pieces, both Witch Elves were off the pitch, I believe, at this stage, one also with an injury and missed next game. I think yes, Simon's found his mojo. James is an exceptionally good player of rats. His cheekiness just gives him that edge sometimes as well. And for me, not just about taking every opportunity within the match, but the other thing, just to it shows us all, it's the inherent risk of when you have a few skilled individuals. If we look at Tom Huns's Dark Elves as well, if we go back, and there's a couple of other teams we're going to touch upon this evening, where you have teams with, say less than 50% with your skills, it does make them, susceptible as, you lose one or two, and then it makes it a completely different dynamic within the game environment as well. So great match, well done both coaches, and to take any match to extra time means both coaches are playing very, very well indeed. And congratulations to Mr. Handley.
Yeah,
Tom.
and I think Hanley's in the chat saying that the game with Simon was such a tight one. Dark Elves very nearly had me a couple of dice rolls away from a 3-2 to Simon. So it really did sound like a very close game. And yeah, this whole timeline really does show that. Lots of fouls, lots of touchdowns, lots of casualties, lots of injuries. Very well played with both players. Both of these players have been in a number of seasons with us, and they've really started to learn and get some real experience behind them.
Yeah, really good result here for James. A very tight result, proving that with Skaven, outscore your opponent and concede as much as you want. He's he's scored in every game that he's won this season. He's scored 3 touchdowns in 2 of them, and he's scored 4 touchdowns in 4 of them. And that's what Skaven can do to any team. They can absolutely punish, get those touchdowns in. If you can score, I can score quicker. And James is putting that to great use. And yeah, he's going to be an absolute threat in the next round. So well done to him. I really hope that if Dark Elves are a similar body in the next round and in the next season and the next edition, I really hope Simon sticks with them, because I think he has found a team that he can kind of click with and that he seems to enjoy playing. I really hope that we see him bring some form of elves, whether it's these or a different one, depending on what they look like, back to a future A&DBBL season, because I think it's really nice to see him doing really well with a team like this. So well done to Simon for a strong season. We will go on to the next game, and we're going from one Handley to another, and we are going to a 2-1 victory for the Tipsy Tankers and Robert over the Orphic Gladiators. In a result that I think this was a really interesting one to keep an eye on, because we all put Luke up there as a potential favorite to win this season based on how he did last season, getting to the final, having some really good results, playing incredibly well. building a really good team with some really good players here. And then he's come up against a really tough opponent, Tom, in Robert, redrafting this Tipsy Tankard team all the way from season 5. Some incredible skills on there. A team that he's taken to semi-finals and a third place finish already in the A&DBBL. And it's just been a very good coach on their form on the wrong time for Luke.
Yeah. I actually had to look up the inducement that Luke took. Jorm the Ogre, who's clearly a coach and I don't know how well he actually came into play here. It seems quite expensive for 120. Just thinking what else he potentially could have taken on board on that. But as you quite rightly put it, Robert is not one to back down from a good old fight, so to speak, and he really does like causing injuries. Unfortunately, by the looks of things, it was more the other way, with one Valkyrie with a -1 movement now, and that is a very well skilled up Valkyrie as well.
That's a Valkyrie that I think had a movement increase that has had that increase slapped down.
Oh, that's not nice, is it? And also, it just seems that these Norse team has got the better of the Chaos Renegades, unfortunately. So it's such a shame because Luke has had such a great run with the Orford Gladiators. It maybe will we see a new team next season?
I think we'll see something new from Luke next season. I don't know what we'll see, but as far as Robert goes, Scott, Luke's put up a good fight. Unfortunately, he didn't get the win here. He has made Robert's life difficult in the next round. Robert took a Yeti in this game for this game, and that Yeti has now got a niggling injury. Dodge block Valkyrie is missing next game and has had its movement busted as well. Where does Robert kind of go from here? Does he look at sort of rebuilding? He's got a big treasury. Does he swap out that Yeti? How would you play this?
I think the Valkyrie is going to be a big miss, irrespective of having that that reduced movement now at a 7, to have the dodge block, strip ball past dauntless and all that goodness. Okay, add 2 as well completely makes up for it. But I think that's going to be a big miss. I would miss the Valkyrie more than I would miss the Yeti, to be honest with you. However, you got 210k if you do want a big man, ready for your next match, then the Yeti is there ready to go if needed. So I think it's an interesting one. It gives Robert it gives Robert a little bit of leeway in terms of an options where he's going to go ready for his next match as well. This was a really interesting match when we called it last week. It was the baby-faced assassin versus the finest facial hair, let's admit it, in the league. The man who puts the hip in hipster, Mr. Luke Baggett. He's not as not as magnificent as some people we know, but he's close to it as well. So commiserations to Luke on this. He's had last season and this season, he's had 2 really good seasons with the Renegades. Good luck to him next season. And I know I had put a bounty on that bloody goblin. So I'd put 3 pints on there if someone was to kill him as well. But I will put this on the public record and on the A&DBBL record now. Just want to say to Robert, because you did get him to a situation where he's obviously missing next game as a reward for that, and you've got through, I will stand you a pint in Hopsters when I see you next.
There we are, Robert. A pint for killing a goblin. You can't ask for better than that. And well done for progressing here. Just the last point on this one. James is in the chat and he has said that there was a little bit of shenanigans going on before the game. Robert was trying to avoid giving Luke 150 so that he could get Skitter. So did sack a beer bore just before the game to make sure Luke couldn't get that 150 that he needed. So some shenanigans happening beforehand. To level the playing field. But well done to Robert. A great result. Commiserations to Luke. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does next season and what he brings to the table. Moving on to the next game then, and we are going into the conference, and it's a 2-0 victory for the Elf Preservation Society over the Doombringers, Wood Elves versus Dark Elves. 2-1 on casualties to the Dark Elves, but Mark here coming away with the victory. And Scott, as a Wood Elf coach who took Wood Elves to a conference final, we look at his team now, and he seemed to struggle earlier on in the season with kind of getting skill points, getting to where he needs to be. He had a stronger end to the season. And now you look at some of these players he's got and some of the random skills that he's got. I think our call that he could be a threat in whatever playoff he gets into is proving to possibly be right when you look at some of these players.
Yeah, I feel a bit like, should we say, a bit of an Obi-Wan Kenobi, knowing that your young Padawan is flourishing, but what's it turned into? I'm well, all right, Tom. No spoiler alert. Someone might not have noticed that. Just looking at this team as well, there's some key players in there who have key skills. Some he's rolled better than others. I hadn't seen some of the additional skills which I saw he put on, looks like it, on Friday after we were discussing this in the NDP road trip. So first of all, that war dancer, dodge, block, leap, sure hand, he can go and pick it up. Strip ball, great. That just means if you're in a cage and you can strip ball, take that ball away, you can also, you've got the extra reroll to pick it up.
Great combo, isn't it?
Love that. I love that combo as well. Yeah, a bit of a letdown that the other one's random fend. That's not the best for a war dancer, but it can help him. It can help him because if someone just does a push, you can say, no, stay there. And already then he's got he doesn't have to roll for the dodge. So there are going to be situations whereby that may not come in useful. Leader and Fumblerooski will give him that additional movement. So all of a sudden you don't have to force the pass. You can drop the ball, someone can pick it up, and the sure hands one will probably pick it up and go for it as well. So having dodge, block on the other Wood lineman, dodging, I think is good. And it's really, really been enjoyable to see Mark progress as a coach, mature as a coach in these games. And I think, he made a good choice in terms of taking Maple. It really gave JD something to think about. And I think, JD focused a lot in terms of taking out Maple. However, Maple killed his runner. And, as you can see there, he did have both runners really taken out of it as well. So when you start to chip away at the numbers of elves, it does add up, and when it becomes more loose, then your money sort of edges towards the Wood Elves as opposed to the Dark Elf. And a very well controlled match by Mark. So very well done, both coaches. And honestly, if I was to play Mark again, because I played him in second game of the season and it was 0-0, I'd be very I wouldn't be going in as favourite. I know that.
Tom, it's unfortunate for JD. It's a trap everyone can fall into, something that Scott said there. When there's a star player on the pitch, it's very easy to fall into the trap of thinking if you can remove that player, the advantage is 100% yours. Sometimes the play can be just to leave it alone. Maybe JD got a bit too focused here.
Yeah, and I think Maple is one of these unknowns. We know that it's very unusual, first of all, that Wood Elf gets a star player in league anyway, considering what kind of high TV they've got. But with this, Maple does seem to be a real threat, a real dangerous character. I've fallen foul of trying to focus on taking out the big guy in the past, and that maybe have been the same situation here. But a bit of a kind of an ask to Scott, being the Woodies coach. Now that he's got Fumblerooski on that thrower, he's got 135k in the bank. Would you be tempted to take another thrower to really start moving that ball around the pitch?
It's definitely an option. It would give you, he's got leader with that, with the original passer. So it's another way of looking at elves in terms of their dynamic, because as you rightly say, in that situation, then Tom, you've got not just you've got basically you can do the pass, the handoff, you can do the fumble Ruski as well, so you can just do end to end, and it wouldn't be out of the size. But thanks for giving him ideas if I'm going to face him like that, Tom. Thanks, that's really kind of you.
Well done to Mark. We said that he could be a dark horse, and it'll be interesting to see how far he goes here. He's starting to build a very strong team. Commiserations to JD, the Doombringers out for this season, and it'll be really interesting to see what direction JD goes next, because one thing with JD is he always builds rather terrifying looking teams. His Corn team, his Dark Elf team, his Norse team have all ended looking pretty scary. So whatever team he chooses next, I give it a season, and it's going to be one to not misjudge for sure. So well done, JD. We will move on to the next game, our penultimate game, and it is a third Ibble coach, unfortunately, going out in the first stage of this playoffs. A 3-1 victory for Andy and his Claws of Corn team against the Skeksis Carrying Pieces Lizard Men of Ash. 2-1 to the Lizard Men on casualties, but 3-1 on touchdowns for the Dark Elves. A very impressive result here. Another one that I was kind of keeping a close eye on, and when I kind of saw the very quick response from the Dark Elf team here, Lizard scoring on turn 7, Dark Elf scoring on turn 8, I did worry a little bit about how the game was going to go. And I think, Tom, I feel for Ash this season a little bit, because he has he's sat on a lot of SPP a lot of the time. He's been very patient, but it has taken him a long time to build up SPP on players, and he's struggled. He's hemorrhaged Saurus in every single game. I don't think he's had many where he hasn't lost one at some point, and he's had so many that have died. It's been really tough for him to actually get any momentum.
Yeah, and I think it's that classic scenario where he, in the very start of the season, he came up against, Tom Huns and John Reeder. They're two really exceptional players. And it's that the thing that we always say, if you can't getting momentum and picking up SPP straight off the bat, you then start to really find it to struggle once you get into the kind of season as a whole later down the line. And that's because, as you quite rightly say, he's been holding on for SPP so he can select particular skills. He's got a skink there with block, so clearly he's had a lot of SPP to save up to get that, and he's now up to 11 SPP on it. He's also got one Saurus of block and tackle, and also, as you just rightly mentioned, he's suffered a lot of casualties in every match. Going up against Andy with his Dark Elves, however, Andy clearly knows how to play Dark Elves. I played against him, and there was no doubt who knew how to play which team. And he's got some fantastic players there. Practically every blitzer has got blodge apart from one. We've got a sneaky get in there. We've got a wrestle, a block, a witch elf. We've got a strip ball witch elf as well, and also kind of a dauntless line elf as a lucky random in that situation. So yeah, it's going to be a very, very difficult path for any opponent against Andy and his Dark Elves.
Andy's in the chat saying lost a Saurus to a foul and Zolcat to a block from the witch. He was down players against 11 L's. Was going to be tough. His block skink went off with a KO and never came back. Scott, we can. Ash has been quite unlucky, but since game 1 and a loss in game 1, Andy is undefeated since that initial loss, and he is looking like the Dark Elf coach to beat at the minute.
Very much so. I've never. Just the interesting thing that Ash, he took Zolcath. I know Zolcath has got the Hypno Gaze opportunity. I can't remember when someone in A&DBBL took the Zote. Maybe
I
someone
can't remember
has.
either. It could be a first appearance.
I've got I want to say I think someone did, but it's not been for many years. If anybody in chat knows or has memory of when the Zote made a guest appearance,
I will
please
see if I can
shout.
find out. I will be able to
Yeah,
find
fine,
out if
Chris.
he has appeared since season 4. So you
Okay.
chat, and I will see if I can find out.
If you can click on the actual clause of Corn, the team themselves, and Chris, it's very interesting how Andy has developed this. Evening, Andy, by the way, in chat. We also, by the way, hello from Andrew from UKBBL, because we met it. We were chatting to him over the weekend, and hopefully we're going to get him on a future podcast. But in terms of if you look at that team, Tom mentioned it there as well. If you look at it, the amount of skills he's got, but balanced across the entire team, which is very reverse if you look at Tom Huns's structure as well. Tom has focused on key players, giving them 1, 2, sometimes 3 skills as well. Andy has built this team with specific roles for specific players. So you do have your your blitzers. The blodge guys are in there. The blodge tackle, lovely. No offense, that's a lovely role for a random skill as well. He does have the blodge sidestep one to go after the ball if he needs to cause that problem within the cage. And having blodge and armor 9, you're going to have to be more unlucky or than not to lose brother hate in the middle of a cage as well and be punched round. So you're always going to have a presence on the ball, and to have those 2 witch elves already, one with dodge block, one with wrestle, strip ball, and dodge. That's your ball sacker. It's looking very good, isn't it? It feels like a bit more of a rounded team as opposed to half a focused team as well. But these elves, we know it doesn't take much for them to either, capitulate as the glass cannon they are, or they can really, take a team to town, as it were. So commiserations to Ash. Hope you've enjoyed your first season in the A&DBBL, obviously crossing over to this, to the next to the Demon. Well done, Phil. Good luck for this week's Nest Point, by the way, in terms of the tournament, and good luck in the quarterfinals.
I can confirm that at least from season 4 onwards, this is the first appearance of the Zote. Has not appeared in a season. So if it has, it's season 1, 2, or 3.
Okay, well, it shows as well I have been listening over the last few seasons and paying a bit of attention. So there you go.
Well done, Andy. A great performance here. Going to be one of the coaches to keep an eye on for sure in this playoff stage. And hard luck to Ash. A very tough season for him, having lost a lot of players. But we know how good Ash is, and hopefully we'll see him in a future season. On to the last game then, and it is a absolute enigma of a game, this one. We were, myself, Scott, Tom, and Luke up in Sheffield were keeping an eye on this one, and we were just kind of baffled at, firstly, we've got a 24 turns, whereas we've got a 24 turns here. We've got the going into extra time, and a 6-hour game, a hell of a slog here. I believe ending on a roll-off, this one, and a roll-off that went the way of the Ogre team. But look at the amount of casualties that were coming in for this Corn team. Dubes has done this all season. He has racked up the casualties in the group stage and beyond. Looking at his stats from the group stage, 25 casualties he caused. Going along, but the Ogres managed to cling on here to get a result. Carl, I know you're in the chat. If you could give us some context on this one, I would absolutely love it. But Tom, I'll come to you first here. It's an interesting matchup, this Corn versus Ogres, because the Noblars all have sidestep. Which is going to make that frenzy a little bit more challenging. You're able to control that frenzy a bit more. And then you've got all of the Ogres who are able to bash that Corn team and outstrength them across the board. It's an interesting matchup here.
Yeah, and I have to say, hats off to Dubes being his first season with us. He's clearly found a team that he enjoys, and he's really understood it, especially, like you say, causing that many casualties against that level of inducements. So there was one part-time assistant, one Budweiser keg, Cindy Pie Whistle, Bomber Dribble Snot, and a Giant Mercenary. So 2 bombers and a giant. So and top it off in a blizzard. So that is a lot of stuff to go up against, especially with Khorne, which can potentially be a little bit light on armor with their marauders and stuff. However, as I say, Dudes has really got to go the grips with this team. He's got block on practically everything, and he's got guard on 2 of his Bloodseekers as well. So this was a battle to the end. Looks of things.
I think this was very unlucky for Mike playing Khorne, as we said, first season as well. I think it's very unlucky for Mike and a testament to Carl in terms of he's embraced the insanity with, limited rerolls, to put it mildly. As you both guys have pointed out, everything was there in terms of inducement. And I don't think Mike could have done anything more. So he's been, Blizzard isn't really going to hamper these 2 teams in particular, because it's not as if they're going to go sort of end to end or pass the team around. But you never know in Blood Bowl when you need to in desperate times, things can work. He's got the giant. He's got the 2 bombers. So obviously, Mike is facing Dribble Snot in the first half, who gets sent off at halftime. Then he's facing Cindy in the second half. So it's bombs raining aplenty to start off. And when he's caused all those casualties, it's not as if he's just been taken off the Noblars as well, which he did. He's been taking out Cindy Pie Whistle. He's been taking out an Ogre Blocker. And really, he's been staying away and negating the Giant until the Giant gets his first casualty on turn 24. You can't play it much better than that as a Khorne coach, but then you can't play it much better than that in terms of Carl playing, this team, Noblars, you're going to lose a lot as well. So for both coaches to have 6 hours of hopefully a lot of fun and stupidity and entertainment, that's what we love Blood Bowl, to get it right down to that roll off as well. And if you are in the chat, Carl, Cindy won herself. Even better. What was the final score in the dice roll off, please?
Yeah, we'll get that confirmed. It's worth noting that the Khorne side here, they got 6 casualties. It is worth noting that 2 of those casualties were ogres as well.
Sorry,
just
it was
Khorne nil on the roll off. Niggling injury on the rump hunter, and a miss next game on a skilled up ogre as well. So these aren't just Noblar casualties. These are big casualties. Carla has been in the chat and given us a little bit of an explanation here. Blizzard didn't really help, so there was no rushing of the Noblars there, so couldn't kind of position as well. Neither coach could kind of stabilize the game. They get the ball, next turn the ball carrier sacked, 3 or 4 turns trying to get it, repeat. And Carl learned in the game, although it didn't happen in the game, learned that it is possible to eat Bomber Dribble Stop. So that's interesting. I wish I was there for that conversation. Also want to shout out Andy's comment here, because Andy played Blade Doobs in the first game and said when I played him in game 1, it did not look or play like someone who had only played 3 games of Blood Bowl. He's absolutely a coach to watch in the future, and I think that's exactly right. In my game against him, he got very unlucky with a few rolls and not breaking armor, but he was getting players down very regularly, and he got unfortunate, and he's not made it through to the top playoff on touchdown on tiebreakers, touchdown and casualty difference, and that's mainly just on touchdowns because his casualties have been incredibly strong. So in our group, he has, I think, the best touchdown difference in the group. Looking at it quickly, he does. He's got the best casualty difference in the group, so very unfortunate not to make it out. But well done to Carl here. A win is a win, even if it's in roll-offs. No one likes winning on a roll-off because you wish there was, as Scott has said before, you want to go outside and have a dance off next to a skip. But a win is a win, and I look forward to seeing how these snotlings do in the next round as well. let's have a little look at the boards. Then we know a few of the next round, but there are lots of games left to play. James is going to have to wait to see whether he is playing Snotlings or Goblins in the next round, but he is through to the quarterfinals. Andy, after his victory, will be keeping an eye on Friday for Amazons versus Lizards to see who comes off better in that game. The Tipsy Tankards will be looking at either Amazons or Dwarfs as well. So that's going to be a tough second game for the North side. And we know it is going to be a repeat of four previous playoffs with Tom Huns facing off against Scott, Coach Creedy's. They've played each other 4 times in playoffs with both winning 2 each. So that's going to be a tight one to watch. In the conference, we know that the Snotling team, the Blobbies, are going through to the quarterfinals, and they will be waiting to see whether they face up against Orcs or Gnomes, as Tom Hovell plays his game later this week. We've got an edge off with Vampires versus Elven Union to decide who goes up against the the Ogre side after their win. And then the bottom side of the draw, we have got Dark Elves versus Goblins facing off to see who faces Necromantic or Nobility. And Mark will wait to see whether the Ogres or the Black Orcs get a victory to see who he faces in the next round as well. That is everything. That is us. All of our games gone through. Scott has dropped off my screen, so I don't think anyone can see him. But thank you to Scott and thank you to Tom for joining me this week. We have. I'm very impressed that our cups of tea, cans of Coke, and large glasses of wine have got us through this one without any major errors being shattered still from the weekend. So well done to everyone. Well done everyone on your playoff games. Keep getting them booked in, and we will be back next week to go through more of the playoffs and see what the next round looks like. We will see you then.